At the start of the film, a girl named Rasa is seen hiding in a cave for 2 days. From there, she watches a plane land at the airport, and the president steps out. Without hesitation, she takes aim with her sniper rifle and shoots him. She picks up the bullet casing and keeps it with her. Meanwhile, a boy named Levi is sitting and writing a poem in his notebook when he receives a message calling him to a base. He quickly leaves and arrives at a massive military base, where he meets an officer named Bat. The officer questions him about his background, mentioning that both his father and grandfather were Marine snipers, and that he is one too. She asks if the rumors are true that Levi has killed 200 people. Levi simply replies that he has killed far more than that. After retiring, Levi took on private contracts but currently has no obligations. Though always ready to work with the Marines, he refuses any offers since a military psychologist deemed him unfit for service. He is alone, no girlfriend, no family, no one to worry about him. Levi avoids all substances, knowing they could compromise his accuracy. He could have appealed the psychologist's decision, but he sees no point, not in that nor in much else. On the other side, Rasa meets her father, Will, and tells him she has completed the mission. Will's face lights up with pride as she hands him the bullet casing. She admits that the memory of the shot still lingers in her mind, weighing her down. Will reassures her, saying that's why he always takes the bullet casing from her, to help her let go. She then informs him that she will be leaving for another mission, one that will last a year, and promises to see him after that. Will nods, understanding. They share a brief moment before parting ways. The next day, Levi is on a plane, gearing up for his mission. He jumps, parachuting down into a dense forest. After trekking for 6 hours, he finally reaches his destination, where he meets a man named JD. The man greets him, relieved to see someone after a whole year. Together, they walk toward a large tower. JD explains that the tower is fully equipped and that Levi will be stationed there for the next year. As Levi looks toward another tower in the distance, JD tells him that someone else is stationed there as well, doing the same job. However, he makes it clear Levi is not to communicate with the other guard. His only duty is to watch over his assigned area. Levi looked down and asked what was beneath them. JD replied that the place was known as the Door of Hell, a deep trench where countless monsters were trapped. That was why it had been monitored for years. Every week, they had to report to the company over the radio to confirm they were fine. Supplies, including food and weapons, would be provided, but it was crucial to check the weapons every 2 days. If any monster escaped, it had to be eliminated immediately. Curious, Levi asked how JD knew all this. JD explained that the previous watcher had told him, and that this operation had been going on for many years. The place was a massive secret, so well hidden that even presidents were unaware of its existence. Jammers had been installed to prevent any signals from escaping, keeping the location completely off the radar. Beneath the trench, there were even more jammers, and if they were destroyed, the entire place would collapse in just 2 minutes. The trench was called Gaz Ka, and it had to remain protected and hidden for an entire year. Levi absorbed all the information, and JD walked him through the weapons and security protocols. The next day, JD was extracted by helicopter. His identity was verified, but shortly after, he was executed. News of his death reached Bat. Meanwhile, Levi stayed at the tower, checking all systems regularly. Every day, he inspected the jammers and weapons, ensuring everything was functioning properly. Levi maintained radio contact with the company, but they only spoke about work-related matters. One day, while observing the other tower, he noticed something unusual. The walls of the tower were covered with the names and thoughts of past watchers, all of them ex-Marine officers like himself. It had been a continuous operation since 1940, with new officers coming and going. One day, while checking the area, Levi spotted someone standing in the distance. A voice came from the opposite tower, and he realized there was a girl stationed there. She also seemed to notice him. That night, Levi woke up from a disturbing dream, his heart racing. He looked outside and saw the lights on in the other tower. Using his binoculars, he observed the girl, who was alone, just like him. She appeared to be just as bored. 2 weeks later, Rasa was celebrating her birthday. Spotting Levi in the distance, she decided to break the silence. She wrote a message on a piece of paper. Levi noticed that Rasa had written a message asking for his name and mentioning that it was her birthday. She also said that for one night, she would ignore the rules and do whatever she wanted. Levi felt a rush of excitement and quickly responded with his name, and the two got lost in the moment. Feeling the effects, Rasa began singing and dancing, urging Levi to join her. He hesitated, admitting he was a terrible dancer. She then smashed the bottle and challenged him to show off his shooting skills. Levi obliged, but when Rasa, still intoxicated, stepped into his line of sight, he immediately lowered his gun. Suddenly, Rasa froze, staring at the trench below. Something was coming up. Levi followed her gaze and saw monstrous creatures emerging from the depths, half human, half monster beings crawling out of the darkness. Without hesitation, Levi opened fire, but the creatures kept coming. A massive explosion erupted in a nearby mine, sending more of them to the surface. Realizing they were outnumbered, both Levi and Rasa fought relentlessly, using every weapon at their disposal. But in the chaos, a monster broke into her tower. She barely managed to kill it, but more creatures started swarming around her. Levi spotted the danger and immediately grabbed a machine gun, raining bullets down on the creatures attacking Rasa's tower. Just then, another explosion rocked the area, injuring Rasa. Levi kept firing, refusing to let any monster get close. As the monsters kept coming, the automated defense systems finally activated, unleashing heavy fire from above. The night became a war zone as the machines continued their relentless assault, killing the creatures one by one. Rasa, watching the carnage, collapsed from exhaustion and pain. By morning, Rasa regained consciousness and tended to her wounds. She smiled weakly and muttered, "That was the best birthday I've ever had." Levi, who had stayed awake all night, burst into laughter at the absurdity of it all. A few hours later, he went down to repair the jammers and reinforce the trench barriers to keep the monsters at bay. Rasa, now fully alert, kept watch over him with her sniper rifle, ready to cover him if needed. Time passed and soon December arrived, bringing heavy snowfall. Rasa, growing restless from the isolation, stared out into the white landscape when she noticed something unusual. Outside, Levi had set up a Christmas tree for them. A warm feeling spread through her as she smiled for the first time in a while. That night, they celebrated together, building snowmen for each other. As the days rolled by, they found more ways to pass the time, playing chess, sharing stories, and slowly growing closer, despite the distance between their towers. 2 months later, February arrived, and with it, endless nightmares. The sounds of monsters echoing from the trench haunted Levi, making it impossible for him to sleep. One freezing night, he stepped outside, only to see Rasa sitting alone, looking more miserable than ever. She finally spoke, "I feel so alone. I wish you were here with me." Hearing those words, Levi made a decision. He was going to her, but crossing the distance between their towers would be nearly impossible. The next day, Leva took out a bazooka missile from their weapons, removed all the gunpowder from it, and tied it with a rope. Rasa watched as Leva fired the grenade from the bazooka, sending the missile to the other side, where it got stuck in a tree. Rasa quickly put out the fire and tied the rope tightly. A few hours later, Leva returned, intending to cross by hanging from the rope. However, since the rope was taut, he got stuck in the middle and had to use his hands to make his way across. When he reached the other side, the rope met him, and they both shared an awkward moment. Rasa then mentioned she'd made rabbit pie for dinner, to which Leva complimented her green eyes, saying they were beautiful. Rasa suggested he take a bath because he'd been sweating a lot. Afterward, Leva returned from the bath, only to find his clothes were kept far away. He walked over without clothes, and when Rasa saw him from the camera, she laughed. Later, they ate together and exchanged stories about being snipers. Leva revealed he had learned from the snow and cold during Christmas that their location was part of the Northside Forest in America. Rasa was impressed and praised Leva's sharpshooting skills. Leva then joked, asking if she knew what he was thinking, to which Rasa responded with a playful question of her own. Leva laughed and said he was also thinking about other things, like whether this place was real and what those monsters were. Rasa shared that her former partner, a sniper, had made her like him, though she always felt sad killing people. He had told her not to dwell on it and just focus on her work. Leva shared a similar sentiment, though he confessed he could never forget his first kill, a woman whose dreams still haunted him. He admitted that his loneliness was why he had come here. That night, they went inside and started dancing together. Rasa complimented Leva, saying he wasn't such a bad dancer. Leva responded, "Maybe." Leva replied, "It's possible," and then they kissed, growing closer. By morning, both were very happy together. As Leva was leaving, they kissed again before he continued on his way. However, an explosion from the mines caused the rope to break, and Leva fell into the gorge while still wearing his parachute. Rasa, determined to follow, grabbed the gun and parachute, then jumped into the gorge herself. She opened the parachute just in time, landing in the water. Despite the strong current, she managed to control her descent. Meanwhile, Leva was hanging from a tree when he saw a monster approaching. He shot it with his pistol, killing it, but another monster grabbed him from beneath the tree. Rasa arrived just in time, shooting the monster and freeing him. Leva, surprised, asked, "You followed me all the way here?" Rasa simply replied, "You would have done the same." They continued forward when they were ambushed by monsters riding horses. They were momentarily stunned, but quickly began fighting back. One monster fled, and Leva noticed their uniforms, realizing they were officers from the 1940s. This led him to suspect that this place must have been built after 1940, and the soldiers there had transformed into monsters. They pressed on and stumbled upon a deserted, ruined city. Seeking shelter from the monsters, they entered a church where they discovered many dead bodies. The signs on their hands indicated the people had killed themselves, though they couldn't understand why. Just then, spider-like monsters attacked them. They fought back fiercely, but more monsters appeared, and they fought their way out, making an explosion to escape. As they fled, they noticed a door hidden under the mountain. Without hesitation, they entered. They discovered that the place was a lab, and as they moved deeper inside, they saw many scientists working on experiments, unaware that they were being killed during the process. Rasa noticed a generator and decided to start it, causing a video to play. A scientist named Maya appeared in the footage, explaining that the video was from 1946, when Robert Oppenheimer was working on the atomic bomb for America. At the same time, they were tasked with developing biochemical weapons. They succeeded, but an earthquake struck, destroying their weapons and releasing a toxic gas into the air. This caused humans, animals, and plants to mutate, turning into monsters. Realizing the danger, they had sealed off the lab. Leva and Rasa finally understood why the government had been hiding the place. Leva said they needed to find a way to escape. They then discovered an old computer from the year 2000, belonging to a military company called Turk Lake, which had played a role in bringing them there. They soon realized that Dark Lake, another organization, had previously sent people to this lab. As they dug into the computer files, they learned that Dark Lake had been experimenting on many of the Drosses, trying to create super soldiers. They also discovered that in 1940, the place was supposed to be destroyed by a nuclear missile, but it was never launched. After the lab was sealed off with Gemmer, the missile remained there. However, once Gemmer was destroyed, the entire gorge would be wiped out by the missile, ensuring that the truth never reached the outside world. Leva then read through the information about the monsters, learning that the nuclear bomb's effects would reach up to 4.2 kilometers away, a detail they needed to remember. As Leva and Rasa were about to leave, Leva said, "If I'm not able to make it out with you, just know that I had a lot of fun with you." They shared a kiss before continuing their escape. Leva added, "If anyone else comes here, they must have left a way up." They pressed forward, searching for a way out. Suddenly, the horse-riding monsters tied a rope to Rasa and began pulling her. Leva followed them and soon saw that the monster had taken Rasa down to a lower level, where it tortured her. The monster attempted to kill her, but Rasa fought back and managed to free herself. They battled fiercely, but the monster threw Rasa and was about to deliver a fatal blow. Just in time, Leva arrived and killed the monster. Both Leva and Rasa felt immense relief and happiness to be together again. Leva noticed that this monster was the same one that had been stationed as the first watcher to protect the tower back in the 1940s. Leva and Rasa continued their journey upward, passing a massive tree covered in thousands of sleeping monsters. Moving cautiously, they tried to avoid disturbing them. However, Rasa accidentally stepped on one, waking it up. The monster grabbed Rasa, and Leva swiftly attacked it, but that's when the rest of the monsters woke up and began closing in on them. In a panic, they caused a massive explosion that killed all of the monsters in the area, allowing them to continue their ascent. They soon found a garage filled with vehicles designed to help them climb the mountain. Leva figured out that ropes had been placed from the tower to pull the vehicles up. The two of them hopped into a truck, and as they neared the hill, monsters started coming after them. The people operating the ropes were killing the monsters, and then they tied the truck to a rope, slowly pulling it up the hill. After a few hours, they had reached a considerable height, but then the monsters began climbing the rope after them. Leva and Rasa fought back fiercely, killing many of the monsters. Leva then drenched them in gasoline and triggered an explosion, sending the remaining monsters tumbling down the hill. As they continued climbing, hanging from the vehicle, they eventually reached a higher point. Once they were far enough, they cut the rope, causing the truck to fall. After a few more hours of climbing, they reached the tower, both feeling disturbed by the truth they had uncovered. Rasa then suggested, "We should run away from here. I know a place in France where no one will be able to find us." Rasa agreed to Leva's plan, understanding that if they were affected by the mutations, they would turn into monsters in 5 days. They decided to wait and see if they were immune, and if not, they would run away. As they parted ways, Leva confessed, confessed, "I love you," and Rasa replied, "I love you too." The next day, Leva communicated with Bat on the radio. Bat asked if everything was fine, and Leva reassured her. Bat mentioned that the computer in the tower below had been activated, and Leva denied going there. Bat insisted that the watchmen of the tower must have gone down and stated that they would never jeopardize their research. The following day, Leva and Rasa were inspecting some machines when they saw a helicopter coming their way, something that was not normal. They quickly fled, with Bat watching from the tower, ordering drones to find and kill them. Leva and Rasa used their sniper rifles to take down the drones. As they climbed higher, Leva spotted Bat in the tower. He planted bombs to destroy the incoming guards, and one by one, they were eliminated. Bat realized that her plans were falling apart and decided to destroy the place to prevent the truth from being exposed. She activated a nuclear bomb that would destroy the area in 2 minutes. They made a run for the helicopter, heading 4.2 kilometers away from the blast zone. They reached safety, and just as they were escaping, the missile was launched, causing a massive explosion in the gorge. The blast hit the helicopter and Bat, while Leva wasn't able to escape in time. He was caught in the blast and fell into the water, sinking deeper into the depths. Rasa, having made it 4.2 kilometers away, witnessed the explosion and took refuge in a cave for 5 days. She soon realized she wasn't affected by the mutations. Afterward, Rasa traveled to France, where she hoped to find Leva, but he wasn't there. Instead, she found a letter from him in which he had finished his poem for her. Rasa, heartbroken over losing Leva, worked as a waitress in a restaurant. To her surprise, she saw Leva there. He ordered rabbit leg, and they shared a joyful reunion, reminiscent of their first meeting. Leva explained that it had taken him some time to recover from his past job, but now he wanted to work with her. Rasa mentioned that the chef's position was open in the kitchen, and they kissed, ending the beautiful story with a sense of new beginnings.